So if you could all mute yourselves so we can begin our service. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Congregation Dor Tamid and our Friday evening Kabbalat Shabbat worship service. It is great to see all of you here joining us on Zoom, on Facebook, or streaming through our website. We are so glad you are here as we welcome in this Shabbat after another week, a week with highs and with lows, with simchas and with suras. But we come now to this moment of Shabbat, this moment where we have the opportunity to take a step back and breathe and reflect and relax and be present with our community, celebrating this gift of time that we have been given. I'd like to welcome my teacher, my friend, Dr. Michael Meyer, who tells me that his wife, Rabbi Margie Meyer, may be joining us in a bit, so welcome to her as well. And we will begin our service this evening in song.
Lucy.
Hine mato umanai shaver achi gam yachad hine mato umanai shaver achi gam yachad. How good it is to be together as one in love, joy, and laughter. How good it is to be in this moment together, kulanu biyachad. Hine mato umanai shefer achi gam yachad. How good it is to be together as one in love, joy, and laughter. How good it is to be in this moment together, kulanu biyachad, kulanu biyachad.
As many of you know, we will, in a little while, dedicate and honor the newest Torah scroll that we have in our Ark, one that comes to us originally from Czechoslovakia, from the city of Loschitz, and most recently comes to us from Miami. When we went to get the scroll, I was blessed to be joined by the president of our sisterhood, Lisa Danzig, who traveled with me, was a great travel companion, and a longer story for another day, really helped me figure out how to get a Torah onto an airplane in a golf bag checked, which is not an easy feat. And so to begin our service tonight, I'm going to ask Lisa to kindle our Shabbos lights.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Wine with grape juice, with the fruit of the vine, our symbol of joy, we sanctify this day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים. ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
I am. We enter into Shabbat in song, singing the psalms that remind us that we sing these songs to God, these new songs, even though the words may be the same as we enter into this Shabbat, in a different place than we were even a week ago. It is truly a new song to God.
Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash.
Just as the mystics did in Sfat, we turn to our beloved Shabbat, welcoming the Sabbath in with the words of Lechadoti.
Ya la 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 lechadodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor b'zachor b'dibor echad, yishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litilah. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, lechadodi, ya la 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 la, likrakala, ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu b'melcha, yihi mekol ha'bracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tevilah. Ya la la, ya la 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 la, lechadodi, ya la 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 la, likrakala, ya la 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 la, b'nei Shabbat Shabbat Havdalah. Adonai, alayik tigla, yalla la, yalla la 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 kadodi, yalla la 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 kakala, yalla la 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 b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nekavela. If you are able and comfortable doing, we rise as we welcome the Sabbath bride into our collective homes. Oive shalom, ateret bala, gam besimcha, ubetzor hola, tochem bonei, am segula, boi kala. Kala, yalla la, yalla la 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 kadali, yalla la 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 kakala, yalla la 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
We transition now to the Shema and its blessings with the words of the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei techol beit Yisrael bagala bagala u'vizman kari v'immeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam alalim me'almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha berichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma ve'immeru amen.
We rise to call each other to pray.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai Amvorach Baruch Adonai Amvorach Le'olam va'ed Le'olam va'ed Yalla lai 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 Am I awake? Am I prepared?
This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of life. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravi. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך, בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh. Torah tekido, osef eleh. Torah tekido, osef eleh. Adonai imlok le'olam va'ed. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai.
Yai lai 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 lai.
Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
We turn now to the Hashkivenu, our liturgical lullaby, which asks God to grant over us a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace over ourselves, over our families, our friends, our community, over all we love.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Ashkivenu L'Shalom, V'Hamidenu Shomrenu L'Chaim, Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, hashkivenu l'shalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Turn now to words that come to us from Torah. Words that as we sing them each week remind us that as we keep Shabbat, it will keep us as well and renew our souls.
And it's a joyous occasion, so even though we can't hear each other sing, we can certainly see each other clap and say our hands go up with the woo, right? Rabbi Jordan will lead you. You guys ready? Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asot et Hashabbat le'dorot ha'berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asot et Hashabbat le'dorot ha'berit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael Oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asot et Hashabbat le'dorot ha'berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asot et Hashabbat le'dorot ha'berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat la'asot et Hashabbat le'dorot ha'berit olam.
We turn now to the Tefillah, our central prayer section of the service, which we open with the words from the Psalms that say, God, open my lips so that I may declare your praise, which we will sing those words together and then go into our own silent prayer using the words that emanate from our hearts and our minds, words that we call to the source of divinity in the world as well as the still small voice within. You are willing and able, please join me in rising for the Tefillah.
Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. Adonai sefatai tiptach, ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Yalla lai lai lai. shalom. Bimroma, ose shalom. Bimroma, hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Roma, oh, say shalom. Be Roma, hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu. 1, 2, 3, and may the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down.
In just a moment, we will turn to our Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our service for the reading of the Torah. And this Shabbat, every Shabbat is a special occasion, but this Shabbat is even more so because this Shabbat we welcome a Torah into our community. Just over a year ago, I started doing a little bit of research into one of the Sefer Torahs that was in our ark that we weren't sure where it came from, a Torah that colloquially was referred to as our Holocaust Torah, but we couldn't actually tell where it came from, what its origin was. And so in doing research, I reached out to the Czech Memorial Scrolls Trust, an organization founded to take care of and safeguard over 1,500 Sifrei Torah, Torah scrolls that were found in Prague after the Second World War that had been put aside by the Nazis. And the Czech Trust said, this isn't one of our scrolls that you're asking about, but we have some scrolls that need a home. Would you be willing to bring one to your community? And my immediate answer was, yes, please. And in doing a little bit more research and in working with our ritual committee and Sherry Nemiroff, who chairs it, and our board of directors, and our then president, Dan Rosen, we did the legwork needed to bring this Torah to our congregation. We were going to honor it a number of months ago, but the pandemic hit. So we are now privileged to be able to, as we turn to our Torah service tonight, welcome this Torah scroll to its new home, its, God willing, temporary home, so that we can bring it back one day to the Czech Republic, but it's home for now at CDT. If you are willing, if you are able, I invite you to please rise.
In kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, v'in kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol tor v'hador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yiten. Adonai varech et amo v'shalom. of harachamim, Heitiv aversonecha et Zion, Tivne chomot Yerushalayim, Tivne chomot Yerushalayim, Kivecha levad bataknu, Melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai mirushalayim.
Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. Moses received the Torah at Mount Sinai. He transmitted it to Joshua. Joshua, in turn, passed it to the elders, and the elders to the prophets. The prophets transmitted the Torah to the sages of the great assembly. The sages taught three things: be deliberate in judgment, raise up many disciples, and protect the integrity of the Torah.
Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed. Al haTorah ve'al avodah ve'al gimilud chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gimilud chasadim.
In the name of Congregation Dor Tamid, we accept this Sefer Torah as a sacred possession of this synagogue in fulfillment of our obligations as the Jewish people. Elu devarim sha'adam ochel peroteihem ba'olam hazeh, v'akeren kayemet lo le'olam haba ve'elu hein. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of this world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's parents, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. On Shabbat, on Yom Tov, in simchas in the life of our community and opportunities to teach from its sacred words, we shall cherish this book of our people. May its truth shine forth and bring light into our hearts and into the hearts of all people as it serves as a witness to our shared history and it serves as our teacher.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlu Adonai Iti, Romema, Shemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Agidul, Avi Agivur, Avi Atiferet, V'yanetzach v'yaod, Ki kol bashamayim uvaretz, Ki kol bashamayim uvaretz, Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, V'amit naseh, Lechol lerosh.
Please be seated. Our Torah reading for this Shabbat comes from Parshat Chayei Sarah, which I will speak about more tomorrow morning, but it begins by saying this is the life of Sarah, and then it tells us how old she was at the end of her life. But rather than just saying how many years Sarah was old, it breaks it up into 100 years and 20 years. It breaks it up into different sections of years, thus reminding us that our lives are not one episode, but rather sections, each carrying its own importance and each being significant. For our Torah reading this Shabbat, I'm going to ask the chair of our ritual committee, Sherry Nemiroff, to bless the Torah and to read from our Sefer Torah, from this Czech Sefer Torah. We're going to invite members of our community who are survivors, children of survivors, and grandchildren of survivors. Herschel Greenblatt, Doug Katz, and Molly Pellet. Ta'amod Sar Rachel bat Abraham v'chana le'aliyah.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamavorach. Baruch
Baruch
Adonai
Adonai
Hamavorach.
Baruch Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Vayhu Chaye Sarah Miyashena Vasherim Shena Vaysheva Shanim Shenei Chai Sarah Vayatmot Mota Sarah B'Kiryat Arba Hi Hebron Ve'eretz Kenan V'Yavo Avraham Lesbo Lesarah V'Le'efotah Vayakom Avraham Miyah Panei Mito Vaydaber al Bnei Lemor.
Gar v'toshav anochi imachem tenu li achuzat kever imachem ve'ekbira me'tai milifanai vayanu v'nei chet et Abraham lemor lo Shemaenu Adoni Nisi Elohim Ata b'tochenu b'mivacha kivarenu kivar et meitecha ish mimenu et kiro lo yikle mimicha mikavor meitecha.
ויקום אברהם וישתחו לעם הארץ לבני חת וידבר איתם לאמור אם יש את נפשכם לקבור את מתי מלפניי שמעוני ופיגולי בעפרון בן סוחר ויתן לי את מערת המכפלה אשר לו, אשר בקצה שדהו, בכסף מלא, יתננה לי בתוככם לאחוזת קבר.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. To Sherry, to Herschel, to Doug, to Molly, Yasher Kochachem, thank you so much for blessing us with this reading tonight. With our hearts opened by words of Torah, we take a moment and pause in our service to think of those members of our community who are ill, our friends, our family, those in our immediate circles, as well as the thousands and thousands who are currently suffering from COVID-19. As we think of all of them, we ask that God's healing presence, healing of body, spirit, and soul, be with them as we sing this prayer.
Mishebeirach Avotenu Bekor Haracha Vehimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen. Mishebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
We rise to dress the Torah and return it to the ark.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. את חיים היא למחזיק בתומכיה מאושר דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם.
Please be seated. When I was a student at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion in Cincinnati, I was blessed to have the opportunity to study with many phenomenal teachers who challenged me to expand my own scholarship, approach the material in many different ways, and to grow as a student and as a Jew. One of these teachers who stands out in my memory for his scholarship, for his unique ability to take the broad range of medieval Jewish history to modern Jewish history and make it a one-semester class, his friendship with us students, and his general menschlichkeit is Dr. Michael Meyer, the Adolph S. Oaks Emeritus Professor of Jewish History. Dr. Meyer was born in Berlin and grew up in Los Angeles, where he received his BA with highest honors from UCLA, and he received his doctorate from the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. He first taught at the Los Angeles campus of HUC, and since 1967, he has been on the faculty of HUC in Cincinnati. He has also, in his career, taught at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, the Jerusalem campus of HUC, the University of Haifa, and Ben Gurion University. Professor Meyer's books have won 3 Jewish Book Awards, and they include The Origins of the Modern Jew, Jewish Identity and European Culture in Germany from 1749 to 1824, Response to Modernity, A History of the Reform Movement in Judaism, and Jewish Identity in the Modern World, as well as a collection of essays entitled Judaism Within Modernity. He has also edited numerous books and published more than 200 articles and longer reviews. Dr. Meyer has served as the president of the Association for Jewish Studies, which is the American Professional Society of Judaica Scholars, and he has chaired the Academic Advisory Council of the Center for Jewish History in New York. He has served as international president of the Leo Baeck Institute, a scholarly organization devoted to the historical study of German Jewry that has branches in New York, Jerusalem, and London. He is also a fellow of the American Academy for Jewish Research and has recently been a fellow of the Center for Advanced Judaic Studies at the University of Pennsylvania. Among his many honors and awards, he holds an honorary Doctor of Hebrew Letters degree from the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Now, all of these accolades and honors only share a sliver of the amount and depth of his scholarship. Dr. Meyer has been a teacher and a mentor to hundreds of students through his decades of teaching, and he has truly inspired many of us, myself included, to appreciate and understand the intricacies of the history of our people. It has been my true honor to introduce this evening, and I hope you will all join me in welcoming my friend, my teacher, Dr. Michael Meyer, to Congregation Dor Tamid.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Ottenstein. It is really an honor and a pleasure for me to be here on this occasion. Jordan Ottenstein was a fine student who was always a pleasure to teach. He took 3 courses with me. 2 of them, he got the highest grade in the class. And one of those courses was actually taught in Hebrew. So it's a personal pleasure to be able to be here with one of my finest students and to participate in this important occasion in Congregation Dor Tamid. 82 years ago, during the month of November, an event occurred in Germany and Austria that lives in infamy. On the night of November 9th, 1938, an enormous pogrom was launched against the Jewish communities almost everywhere that was under Nazi control. It became known as Kristallnacht, the Night of Crystal, on account of the broken glass that destroyed Jewish buildings that littered the streets. That night, I was a small child, almost a year old, living with my parents in the Nazi capital of Berlin. As if it wasn't enough that the Nazi hordes destroyed Jewish property, they decided the following day to send all Jewish men under the age of 70 to nearby concentration camps until they had obtained visas to some land that would, albeit reluctantly, accept them, and until the Jewish community had paid a huge fine to the government for the damage that had been done to the surrounding property. Gestapo agents came to my grandfather's door to arrest him. My grandfather, hoping to avoid deportation, showed the agents the medal he had received as a frontline soldier in World War I on the German side. It did him no good. He was taken to the Sachsenhaus camp near Berlin, kept there until his wife could obtain a visa for the 2 of them for the South American country of Chile. The Gestapo also came to our apartment, but fortunately, my father had been tipped off. Only my mother and my tiny self were at home. The agents remained for a couple of hours while my mother trembled, but my father, riding back and forth on public transportation, managed to escape being taken to the camp. On that night of November 9th, members of the Nazi Sturmabteilung, the SA, the shock troops, destroyed Jewish stores and Jewish homes. They raped and molested Jews whom they found on the streets. But most of all, their anger and their destruction were directed at synagogues, and within the synagogues, at the scrolls of the Torah. Cherished Torah scrolls, as well as prayer books and prayer shawls, were trampled into the dirt in full view of spectators who were standing in front of the burning buildings. When the Friedenstemple in Berlin, where Rabbi Joachim Prinz, later a civil rights leader in America, served as rabbi, when that synagogue went up in flames, 2 Jewish boys, aged 13 and 14, managed to sneak 12 undamaged scrolls from the synagogue and hide them with a foreign resident of the city. Most scrolls were not so fortunate. The Torah scrolls in the Rhineland town of Oberwesel suffered a dreadful fate. Rabbi Alfred Gottschalk, who later served as president of the Hebrew Union College, carried the searing childhood memory of seeing his grandfather picking up fragments of the community synagogue's torn up and drenched scroll out of the Rhine River, where the Nazis had cast them. As the Holocaust moved forward, the tragic fate of Torah scrolls moved along with it. Many were lost to flames or to other forms of destruction, but some also survived. After the Nazis invaded Bohemia and Moravia in March of 1939, they forced the 350 synagogues located there to close. The Torah scrolls were gathered in a central location in Prague, where some 1,800 were preserved. In 1964, most of them were transferred to London and placed on shelves in a storeroom in the Westminster Synagogue. A few years ago, I saw them there, abandoned orphans awaiting adoption. The scrolls are never sold, but only sent on permanent loan to congregations around the world where they receive their due honor. Now one of them is in your possession. Your scroll comes from a town in Czechoslovakia, today called by the Czech name of Lostice, but during the Austrian Empire was known by the German name of Loschitz. Today, this small town, which scarcely has 3,000 inhabitants, is best known for producing a kind of cheese. But in the 19th century, it played a role not only in modern Judaism, but interestingly enough, also in the history of Jewish feminism. In 1855, the young widow of the Rabbi of Loschitz published a book of original prayers and devotions titled in German Stunden der Andacht, or Hours of Devotion. Earlier, Ashkenazi women had composed such devotions, but in Yiddish, they were known as techinas, and most recently, rabbis and male Jewish educators had written modern versions in German. But Fanny Noida, for that was her name, who lived from 1819 to 1894, was the first woman to compose such a work entirely in the vernacular, entirely in German. Moreover, she removed all of the references to the angels and demons that regularly appeared in the techinas. Because it was the work of a woman and included devotion for special occasions in a woman's life cycle, the author hoped it would, quote, be the more likely to resonate in women's hearts, end quote. In an added, quote, word to the noble mothers and women in the people of Israel, Noida urged mothers to provide for the religious education of their daughters and not just their sons, along with the instruction in languages and the arts. Noida's book was reprinted at least 28 times and enjoyed a large readership in English translation as well. Surely Fanny Noida must have prayed in the Loschitz synagogue in the presence of the Torah scroll that is now in your possession. Over the years, the writing on that scroll became damaged, and I understand is no longer kosher. One does not regularly read from such a scroll. But that does not mean that that scroll lacks religious and historical significance. And that significance, I tell you tonight, exists on multiple levels. The Torah is first of all HaTorah shel Avotenu ve'imotenu, the Torah of our ancestors. It contains the history of our people in its earliest stages of development, as we read this evening, the patriarchal narratives, then the revelation at Sinai, the laws and commandments that raised our forebears to a higher level of humanity. It is also HaTorah Shelanu, our Torah, a moral standard by which we, the community of Israel, collectively measure our lives. And it is for each one of us a Torah Sheli, my Torah, a personal guide to a meaningful form of Jewish existence. To be sure, we as Reformed Jews do not commit ourselves to each of the Torah's commandments, and we do not take literally all of the words of its narrative. But it is our heritage, and as our heritage, as the emblem of our community, and as our source of moral instruction, the Torah lives on, no less vitally for non-Orthodox Jews than it does for traditionalists. It remains for us an Eitz Chaim, a tree of life that sustains us even as it challenges us. Through the centuries, the scrolls of the Torah and the scroll of the Torah to which we pay honor this Shabbat evening have been passed from generation to generation. In many synagogues, and I know in yours as well, the Torah is passed between the generations on the occasion of a bar or bat mitzvah. How appropriate then that this Torah scroll, old in years but new in its surroundings, should come to rest in a congregation whose name is Dor Tamid, a name that represents continuity from one generation to the next. May this scroll in your midst then serve as a reminder not only of its particular and sad recent history at the hands of those who sought to destroy our Torah, but also remind us of its content, a challenge to our lives as Jews and as human beings. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may that be God's will.
Amen. Dr. Meyer, thank you for sharing that history, that Torah with us tonight, and that prayer for its presence to be a blessing for our community. We sing now the words of another female poet, the words of Chana Senesh. She said, Eli, Eli, my God, my God.
Eli, Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רישרוש של המים, ורק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול רק השמיים תפילת האדם. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
I invite you now to please rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, ואלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. At this sacred moment of our Shabbat worship, we think longingly and lovingly of those taken from us both recently and at this season in years past. We are in a period of Shiva, the first 7 days since their funeral, of Anita Levy and Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. We mark the yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing on this Shabbat, of Henny Lowenberg, Evelyn Fox, Esther Lebowski, Arthur Jonas, Larry Slavin, Albert Lewis Cohan, Ruth Miller, and Ernie Barron. You are remembering someone. I invite you to speak their name out loud, thus linking their memory to all of those we have listed, the millions of our people who have no one to say Kaddish for them, the thousands who have been victims of the pandemic, and the Shemei Rabbah, the great, holy, and awesome name of God that we praise with the words of the mourner's Kaddish. And as we speak these words, I invite you to please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'almad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei techol Beit Yisrael. B'agalav v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam La'omei Maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei Dikudsha Brichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran b'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav. Huyaseh Shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all the bereaved here and everywhere with the blessing of peace. Together, wherever we are, we say, Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, huyase shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimeru. Amen.
Please be seated. Good Shabbos, everyone. It is great to see you all here tonight on Zoom, on Facebook, streaming on our website. I want to once again thank my teacher, Dr. Michael Meyer, his wife, Rabbi Margie Meyer. Michael, Margie, it was great seeing you tonight. I'm so glad you were able to join our community this evening. Just a few brief announcements before we conclude our service. Tomorrow we will continue celebrating Shabbat with our Shabbat morning story time at 9:15, and then our Shacharit service and Torah reading at 10 a.m. Both of those will be on our Facebook page. Then tomorrow night we say farewell to Shabbat with Havdalah at 7:30, also on Facebook. Sunday morning, Play Tamid will meet out on the patio, and religious school will be in session on Zoom. All of the grades this week, pre-K through 10th grade. Tuesday, Mike is back with a night of Mike music on Facebook. And Wednesday, I invite you to join me on Zoom as we continue studying the book of Numbers. On Thursday, our morning, we have a very full day. First, at 10 a.m., our prime timers group will meet with me for a cup of coffee and conversation. And at 11 o'clock, our next Molly's Israeli kitchen session will happen. Molly's taking it on the road, though. Where she's going to be, we'll find out next week. So join Molly for another great session at 11 o'clock on Facebook next Thursday. And then Thursday evening on Zoom, join me as I participate in a panel discussion with Reverend Brian Doust of Johns Creek Presbyterian Church and Mr. Sharif Saeed from Masjid Hamza as we discuss our three traditions' views on the Thanksgiving holiday, as well as the concept of giving thanks. So I hope you will join us for that, which should be a very interesting religion-based discussion on Thursday evening. And then next Friday night, we will be back for Kabbalat Shabbat services. Our closing song this evening will be Adon Olam. Please join us in singing together.
And we're going to go traditional this evening. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra Li'et nasa b'chefso kol Azai melech shemo nikra V'yacharei hichlot hakol Levado yimlok nora V'hu haya v'hu hoveh V'hu yiyeh b'tifara V'hu eli v'chai goali. We'll try that. V'hu echad v'ein sheni Le'am shilo le'achbira V'li reshit v'li tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra V'hu eli v'chai goali V'tzorchev li be'et tzara V'hu nisi umanos li Menat kosi b'yom mekra V'yado hafkid ruchi V'et yishan v'ya'ira Ve'im ruchi yeviati Adonai li velo ira.
When Lisa and I went to Miami to pick up the Torah and bring it to our home, the scribe unrolled it so we could see the inside. And coincidentally, the words that he opened it up to were the priestly benediction. It happened to be scrolled right to that section. So I think it is fitting that we conclude our service with those words coming from the Torah as our benediction tonight.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you safe.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May the light of God's smiling presence shine upon you and be kind and loving to you.
Yisa Adonai, panav elecha, v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may you always be blessed with the most precious of all gifts, the gifts of shalom, of health and happiness, of joy and peace. Together, wherever we are, we say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.